Yesterday, we covered some labs, and we covered some protocols, such as high availability, first of high availability. It is called gateway high availability. That means you have more than two gateway router with virtual IP for gateway. So Cisco has a protocol, hot standby routing protocol, HSRP. And Cisco has another proprietary protocol that is called, that we will discuss today, that is called Gateway Load Balancing Protocol. In the previous lab, we have turned that.
Can you share yesterday file, please?
Which file?
Yesterday labs. We miss it.
You missed. Okay. Can you maybe it is EBGT, right?
Yes, EGBT and DSCP, Sunupin, okay. And if you share them all, maybe.
Okay, okay, I'm sharing. Problem. Then I completed. Okay, I'm sharing all. So, and okay. Oh, one thing I missed, missed at the beginning. That is, yesterday we faced problem when executing command of BGP on packet tracer. Later I tried with another model of router, but same case. So it was problem with packet tracer. Packet tracer does not fully support BGP. So to complete the lab, we need two real router, or you can use advanced simulation software like GNS3. GNS3 is software that can be okay. Where is BGP? Okay, I shared yesterday's lab. So yesterday we covered HSRP, hot standby routing redundancy protocol, where only one router carries traffic at a time. That means another router will be idle. Okay, it will just wait for router 1 failing. Okay. So Cisco has another proprietary protocol. It's called Gateway Load Balancing Protocol. That is used with the similar concept of HSRP, but here there are some enhancements of that concept. Here you can load balance your traffic between routers. Say there can be more than one router, two or more, depending on your design. So the picture here, let's explain here. Look at this diagram. In this diagram, you can see that there are two routers, same as HSRP setup, and connected to a switch, and switch is connected to a router for testing. Okay, you can use router or just a PC for the testing, just gateway testing. Okay, here we have two routers. The will be configured in a GLB, gateway load balancing protocol, which will have a virtual IP. Okay, so here we can have some load balancing opportunity. Okay, and the configuration is same. Which one will be active? Which one will be not standby or inactive? Depends on your priority. Okay. Okay, and then you can give number, a group name, same, but unfortunately, the CLB is also not supporting in packet tracer. But concept you must be clear. Okay, in the configuration is the same as in the previous lab. We used HSRP, then group name, but here we just GLB, okay, gateway load balancing, and then we put IP address, which is virtual IP address. Then we set for priority and timers. We can also set. Then we can configure the authentication. We can set a password for protection. Otherwise, some malicious or rogue router may try to be standby or active router. Okay, we set one with 100 priority and another with 90. Okay, then we can check which show HSRP. These are output just. So you can use this command, okay, for the showing which one is active, which one is inactive. Okay, but here we can also utilize as the load balancing mode with separate configuration. But here we are showing only okay, load balancing. No, here also load balance will be done in a round robin manner. Round robin means one traffic will go to active and then to another router. Okay, first router will receive first one request from a PC, for example. Then another router will carry another PC request. In this way, round robin manner, it will pass traffic. Okay, we have another protocol that is called VRRP. VRRP, virtual routing redundancy protocol. That is also the same concept of HSRP. HSRP is Cisco's proprietary first hop redundancy protocol, but DRRP is standard, often a standard that is used by other vendors. But when you are using Cisco only environment, you can use HSRP. When you are working in an environment where different vendors devices are used, in that case, you will go for DRRP. Okay. Or if the proprietary protocol has specific advantage, then you can use that. Otherwise, you can use open standard protocols that are better. Actually, open standard protocols are understandable to most people, but proprietary protocol has some drawbacks, such as you may means you may have some people who do not understand proprietary protocols. Okay, because not all people work with Cisco devices, or they study Cisco materials. Okay. Although most people study Cisco material for learning networking, that's a good thing. Okay, hierarchy concept is also has a problem with the packet tracer, because packet tracer doesn't support hierarchy. You can use GNS3 or live equipment. If you have lab facility at your university or anywhere, you can try with live device, or you can use advanced simulator, GNS3 or EVMG kind of thing. Okay. So how it works? It is same way of HSRP, primary gateway. So you can also set a priority for one router and another router. If you want to make a primary gateway or primary router that is high priority with 100, say, and another we can say lower number. Okay. So how we can see, just show BRRP brief. This will show you the status, but the configuration is similar, to to HSRP. Here also you define virtual IP that will be used as gateway by the devices in the network. And then you priority, then you signers, advertise one. Okay. These are just timer setting. How long? Look at this. What will be our settings? Router should say hello every second. Okay. Detect failure of a router in 3 seconds. So advertise means it will advertise hello in every second. Okay. Hello, why hello is required? Standby router needs to see whether our active router is actually active. If it is active, it will reply to hello, and it failed to reply to hello packet, and it will take active role That means HS hot standby router will take active role if it doesn't receive hello reply. Okay, and preamps delay. Here is another concept. Why it is mentioned here? It is used. Detect the failure of the router in every and total time it takes to decide whether this router is active router failed, and it will take active role, and it takes 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Okay. Okay, so there will be some disturbance in communication for a very short period of time. And you can also use authentication for authentication. Okay. In standby router, you just change the priority and everything is same. And the verification command show hierarchy, then you will see the priority and which one is master. Okay, here language is quite different. In hot standby routing protocol, redundancy protocol, state was standby, active, standby. Okay, here master, here the role will be master. Active router is called master, and hot standby router is actually backup. Okay, so although similar concept, in fact same in effect, but their terminologies are slightly different. So you go through these lab settings and try to understand. If it is not possible to perform actual lab in simulator or live equipment, if you understand the concept and commands, how those commands are used, that would be enough, I think, for your understanding or go further with if you try to advance your networking knowledge. So studying CCNP level materials, or at least if you start your career in networking or IT environment where networking knowledge is required, where you can utilize your this concept. Okay. When you actually work, you can verify with the material or Cisco documents whether your commands are correct or not. Actually, for actual work in real life, we should execute commands only after checking the Cisco documents or material. Otherwise, there are chances that you may make some mistakes, because you may forget things, or operating system version. There are in the earlier sessions we discussed that Cisco has different variants of operating system. Although we mainly focused on iOS in CCNA, but there are other versions. Some commands may be slightly different, okay, or totally different even. So before executing command, although you're known concept, you should consult Cisco materials which are available online and documentation portal. Or you can just check in the command prompts when we um, uh, seek help in command prompt by typing exclamation sign, we get some idea which commands syntax are supported in the present. Okay. Let's move on to some other concept that we can use today. So another important concept is radius, text, and what is radius? Radius. Okay, radius concept is very important in practical work. When you want to work in a network, you have a username and password to access the routers, switches, and other networking devices. So network admin, existing network admin will create username password for you. And when someone leaves the organization, say some interns may come to the organization and they will be given some access. And when they leave after their internship period, you will remove their username password. Or an employee leaves your organization, you have to remove username passwords from all the routers and switches. But if it is one or two devices, it is not a problem. But in a large organization, there are so many networking devices. For example, in a medium-sized organization, there are hundreds of routers, switches, or in a large organization, there can be 10,000 and or more, for example, devices. So if you give username and password, creation and deletion will be quite impossible for anyone to maintain a network. Okay. So what can you do? So for larger deployment or scalability issue, you must maintain another solution. We can use Radius server or TechX, which is so proprietary. Radius is open standard. The elaboration of Radius is remote authentication dialing user services. Okay. It is AAA server, authentication, authorization, and accounting. Authorization means, I'm sorry, authentication. First A is authentication. Authentication means you prove who you are. Okay. By providing password, for example, we prove that we are who we claim. Okay. Say your name is something. You write in the username part, that is identity. Then you have to prove your identity by providing a secret information, that is password, for example, or some key. So when you provide key or password, then it is called authentication. If it is successful, it is authentication. Okay. Or this process is called authentication. which we perform every day. Then authorization. Authorization means when you can log in a system, you have different level of privileges. So, for example, in this Zoom meeting, you have only view audience privilege. But right now I have host privilege, so I can change something that is another level of privilege, or I can change host status of others. Okay, so it is authorization. It is depending on authorization. Okay, in an organization, with regard to networking devices, there will be at least two levels. For example, you junior employees who are very new, you will only give read-only privileges for just monitoring and for just seeing what is in the configuration. They don't have any right command privilege. Okay, so you set different levels of privileges, or you can set different levels of privileges. Like there are different commands that should only be executed by a very experienced engineer and mid-level engineer, or mid-level employees who just use another set of commands. So there are different levels of authorization. That means authentication is not everything. Okay, you have to get authorization for performing a specific command. Okay, and then you have accounting. Accounting has another term related, auditing. Okay, and accounting means whatever you are doing in a router switch, it is recorded in syslog. Okay, you know syslog in Linux, which is also available in Cisco operating system. So you have your activities will be recorded, and you log in, log out, and your activities, such as which command you are executing, will be recorded for auditing purposes. Okay. If there is anything happens, any problem occurs, or any type of investigation is required, then it is required to check logs. Okay, logs are also collected to a log management system where logs are analyzed. So to execute this type of system Radius, we have a lab where we will show how this is done. Okay, AAA, we mean AAA is a very important term we use in this area. Authentication, authorization, and accounting, including auditing actually. There are two protocols. Radius and TechX. Actually, we have another protocol nowadays. What is radius, and there are other systems, that is Cisco Identity Services Engine. Okay, we'll just focus on radius protocol. That is often extended and CACX plus is system proprietary. We'll go through both of them. Okay, look at this lab setup. In this lab, you have a router and you have a radius server and we have a computer. This computer is used to log in to the router. It is network administrator computer. This is radius server. So what we will try to do, we will configure the radius server to control authentication, authorization in the router. Okay. Okay, we can do it with packet tracer. Oh, it is. Let's take router. So this is our router. We'll take the switches. Okay, let's take to PC. So not to one PC then. We'll take a server. We'll take a server. So here is our server. Let's connect. Okay. At first, configure the IP addresses according to our lab setup. PC has got 192.68 2.2. Okay. Okay. Then server has got 1.2. There's two networks here. Okay, two networks. We have got configuration here, and then we will configure the router. Okay, here this first Ethernet, but we use gigabit. Okay, where hello, they cannot it will be bigger 0 0 and I can that is also gigabit. You can start post name our okay, set an our password, just password and our okay. Hello. Remember not start okay. You can run all those commands at a time. No problem. So I feel okay. Two links are up. That means PC is reachable from router. Also reachable server is also reachable. So 192.168. Let's verify again. 1.2. Okay, server is reachable. And what about PC? PC is also reachable. Okay. Okay. And now we have to configure the server. Okay. Let's go to the server and server or the services. Okay. In services, we use triple A authentication, authorization, and accounting server. Okay. This server has by default option tag radius. So we can also perform packets. Okay. We can also set packets. Okay, we will add. We can. Why we are using radius? Radius. We want to control all the user password from radius server. Okay. So when a user try to log into a switch, router or any networking devices, and they have to use username password provided from radius packet server. With radius server, when you enter username and password in a router, it first attempt to connect radius server for username password. When radius server authenticates, then router or switch will allow you log in. Okay, otherwise it will be rejected. But when we create username password locally, that is local username password. But when you have a radius server in your network, radius server will take precedence. That means if you have password locally, by default it will redirect it to radius server. Okay. Here we create it. This. Okay. Username password. So username is admin and client IP Then secret. Secret means your password. Password. Okay. There it is. This so then add. So IP address is client IP. Oh, client IP should also be mentioned for security services 192.168.2. Okay. Okay. So you are a user from this PC. You are allowed to log in. Okay. So here we mentioned everything. Okay. Cisco make sure you add IP 1.2 server different. Oh, okay. There is some command that you run in the device. So what are the commands? Okay, let's check the port number. What is the port number? Radio local. Okay, default port is maybe. Okay. Let's check. Okay, basic configurations are completed. Now we already configured Radius server. Radius server is ready. Now what we will do in the router? Go to the router. What are the commands? I'm showing you one by one. Go to the router. I will see configuration. First command will be AAA new model. Okay. AAA new model. It is command center. Okay. Then you mentioned use server, which is Radius server. Radius. Okay. Okay. One. I made one mistake. B. Let's see. The server configuration. Okay. Server configuration. It's the network configuration client name. Maybe this client name. Radius. Okay, there is a mistake. Okay, what is the mistake? This is client means here devices. Oh, okay. It is a Radius client server model of architecture. That means this Radius server has this client. That means the router will be its client. Okay. So we change it. So in the router, remove it. Not there. Okay. Client name. Okay. Say client name is router's name or one, and then write address 192.168.1.1. Okay. And we will set a secret. We can set any secret. Okay, say here password is used in the command. So same will okay, I can use same. So in this way, you will add your device in the Radius server. Okay. To add different devices to Radius, you have to configure both in Radius server and in the device itself. Okay. so that they can know each other. Okay, otherwise it is not possible to identify which radius to connect which device. Okay, then we'll go to the router where, okay, after a new model, you will define the radius server, a radius server host, then IP address of radius server, then a key means secret, and then you mention password. Okay. You are mentioning that this is our radius. Then you mentioned default authentication login default group radius local. Okay. First radius, then local. Okay. Okay. You will put here. Go to the login authentication default. The router. Then login authentication details. It is also command syntax. Okay, now what we'll check for debugging. Okay, before debugging, let's check one thing. Let's check debug triple F. Okay, triple A debugging is on. Okay, telnet PC to the router. Now we have PC. Use telnet 192. Okay. But here another thing should be, what about user? Okay, user. Okay, let's add username first. Say admin Cisco. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to log in here. Telnet admin one. Telnet secret could not find. Username, say admin. Okay, you can log in. Okay, that means you can use username and password set in the radius server. Okay, now what you are trying to do, you want to remove admin. Okay, okay, remove admin. Now try to log in. Admin is okay, invalid login. That means you can control users from this radius server without going to your router. So if you have so many routers in your network, it is not a problem. So you have 5 network engineers joined to your company. So your manager told you to create a username and password for routers. So you have 50 router suites. If you create for 5 engineers, it will take huge time, or there are chances that there will be mistakes. Okay. So with Radius, it is very easy for you. Just you add a username, password here, and then you will you can maintain, or you can remove if some people leave the organization. So it is easier way to manage users. And another important issue is that authorization is not available in the Cisco packet tracer. Authorization means you can set the user's level of access. That means some people will get read only, some people will get write access, and some will get in between.
Sir, your mic is closed. Sir, open your mic.
Okay. Okay, you can do with Radius server. You can control your users in a convenient, scalable way. Okay. Okay. Great. And then we have another lab. Okay. Okay. Check it. For security perspective, I would say that attacks are more secure than Radius, because Radius only encrypt passwords and other communications are unencrypted. But in TechX, everything is encrypted. So TechX is better in some with respect to some features. Okay. Okay, we will also test. Let's test TechX. how it works. There. TechX is same actually, but there are some slight differences. Okay, same. Say that it is same, but let's show how. But in this lab setup, we are here using a layer 3 switch. Okay, let's try with the same setup. Whether it is okay, but when you do, you can also try 3560 switch, which is the multi-layer switch. It has some routing capabilities in the switch. Okay. In our setup, just change radius server to tech. We have same. I don't know whether it works. Okay. No. Oh, we have to remove it. This radius type. Okay. We have to create again. Okay. Client I say R1. Client I say is 1. Then secret. Okay, is there any secret here? Okay. Username Cisco password. So it is bit different. Okay, my key. Okay, just use it. TechX server. My key. Okay, it is TechX server. TechX port. What is the TechX port? Should we default or different port? I think okay, this port will work. Okay. This port will work. Okay. That means we have TechX client configured. That means, but you have to configure all the routers, add routers, or switches, or other devices here for TechX login. Okay, we just added one. Okay, here TechX by default changes somehow. Then you create a username, say one admin one, admin one, and then password is Cisco. Okay. You need this username password. So what are the commands? Commands are similar command here. Triple a new model is common command. Okay, let's remove the command. Hello. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here is. Okay. Okay, we are in a trouble maybe because username password is set for a radius, but it is already deleted. But router will try. Okay, router will try. That's the problem. Okay, we have to delete router. Create this. Yes, remove this router because it has some problem. Okay. Actually, what we could do, we could remove all the configurations in the router, especially radius related configuration. Then we could continue with TechX. Okay. That is why I am taking new router. Okay. So it's one. Let's build new connectivity configuration. Equal 0, 0, problem. Then another. Okay. Now we have to give new command. Here we have all the basic commands here. Let's put here. Okay, links are up. Links are up, but so okay, okay. Now we will give the basic command. For basic commands, here putting the AAA command. So here it is common. AAA new model is common, and then username password. What is it? Enable password. Enable password is already set. AAA authentication logging my authentication group text local. Okay, this is one command. Okay, enable password is already set. So I'm not going to that. And another local we can set local username password. Okay. Make sure that you have local password, especially one, at least one local username and password for every router and switch. So in case you reduce the TACAX malfunction, or for some reason it is not reachable, but for emergency purpose you have to log it. So what will you do? You have to local username password. Otherwise, the router switch will be inaccessible. Okay, you will be in a trouble in some situation. So what you will do, you will ensure that one username or password is in place. Okay, it is the responsibility of senior administrator who is ultimately responsible for login. Okay, for emergency purpose. Okay. Okay. But here we can skip it. Okay. Then we set in the previous lab we set radius. Sorry. That's okay. Let's copy from here. Okay, command is like what is the server IP address? 192.1.2 and key is my key. Okay, my key is radius server password for client. Client means here the device. First, triple A new model. Okay, then you write your radius server is known, and what are the other commands? Okay, it should work. It should work. Okay, let's check. Now we try to log in the switch from a computer using Telnet. Telnet is not working. So, sorry, dot one. No, no. One. It is in which network is two. Sorry. Okay, 2.1. Is it reachable? At first, you are okay. Okay. Here, but it should be reachable. What's wrong? Okay. At first, oh, okay. Let's check configuration. Here it is 2.2. What is the port? 00 and the 01. Say okay. So IP. Sorry. What's wrong? Okay. Okay. Ping is possible here. What about 1.2? Okay, reachable, but what about this? What's wrong with this? 2.1. Oh, now it is. Okay, now it is. Wow. Okay, now try telnet. Telnet of 2.1. Okay. Username admin 1. Then password was Cisco. Connection to close point. Okay, let's check. Okay, in the server we created admin one Cisco. Okay, is there any debugging option? Debug. Check. Okay. Okay. Okay, we have missed other configuration than local command. Configure one that is done on the two okay. We actually we have to give other commands. Okay. Otherwise, it may not work. Two commands is like this. Okay. One is copying here. Another command is this. Exact default group. Another command is debug. Okay. Debug. Why we are using this command debugging for default session on the system from the okay, it will enable actually. Okay. And then we have this command syntax. The user should be allowed to go into exec mode. Okay, exec mode. Okay. Let's run the command. Recall a new model. Okay. Under recall a new model, let's run this command. All right. Oh, debug is sorry. Debug is the privilege. Okay, that's on. Let's see. From PC, let's check. Main one password is oh, okay. Okay, it is not working. Okay, not working. That's not working. But router receives some request from PC and debugging source. Peak method list. Okay. Point. Okay, showing some. Okay, maybe we are missing some command, but with radius because not problem. Or we can follow all the process with this switch. Sometimes routers may not uh, support the command. Okay. What they did the same thing, login authentication of okay. My login authentication maybe it has some differences. I follow in the same approach of radius, but it has a difference. Okay, just follow the same steps of this yourself. Okay, if there is any issue, I will also talk with you. Okay. Okay, I am sharing this lab. You just configure according to this manual. Okay, I just tried with the radius setup with same approach. Okay, maybe something wrong or some unsupported command. Okay, let's check it later. Okay. Okay. I will show you one last lab today. That is, but approach the configuration steps are similar. Okay, it's you. I am giving you for your trial that part. Okay, then we'll get back to it before starting tomorrow. Okay. Another important area you should know, that is DNS, domain name service. Okay. You know, DNS is very easy thing. First, it gives IP address for you for name. Okay. Human readable names are used by people for remembering or just so we can say website name easily, but we cannot remember different IP addresses. So DNS works to convert numerical value, which is IP address. Okay. In network, IP address is used for communication. So name is just for our ease of use. Okay. So we can check how we can configure DNS server on a router. Although in larger organization, we will not configure DNS server or on routers or switch. We just use Windows server-based DNS server or Linux, Red Hat or Ubuntu are used, or other operating system can be used for DNS server configuration. Okay. But for testing or some special cases, you have to configure DNS on router. There are two types of DNS server, you know, primarily two types: authoritative DNS server. Authoritative means where the actual record of your domain is kept. Authoritative DNS server, and there are recursive DNS which we use for obtaining the record from authoritative DNS server. So different iterative process it reaches to authoritative DNS for obtaining the record. Okay, there are multiple steps in the DNS working process. Okay, if you go through this, you will understand. And we have also caching DNS and other. But here we are going to define a DNS that is actually authoritative. Authoritative means it has the actual record. And other DNS are actually caching. They have maybe they have some cache from authoritative for some time. Okay, in this small setup to create a DNS. Okay, let's take one new setup. So you have okay. You can set. Okay, is there any message? Can you send the what happened? Okay. Okay, what is our lab setup? We have a switch. Just we have a switch. PC and we set a server. Okay. Okay. We just show how DNS is working here. One. Let's make them reachable. The two actually gateway is not required here because there is no router. What I can say. Okay. Okay, gateway is not required, although we can set. Okay. On the three. Okay. Done. Let's check the reachability. Reachable. Okay. What we are doing here? There are services and DNS. Okay. DNS. DNS. Available. Okay. DNS. You can DNS service on DNS. DNS has different records. A record means IPv4 record. And there are CNAME, canonical name record, that is used for alias. Sometimes we can log in with a different web address, and then we click and reach the IP address. Okay. And the startup authority name server, name server means DNS name, DNS IP address. Okay, we are just talking about a record. A record means quad A. We have quad A for IP address 6 record. Okay, just remember 2 things. So what we are doing, we use a URL of mypage.com. Okay, how we record? Okay. This record. Okay. What will be the IP address? Oh, sorry, the name, some name you can provide. Okay. And then address. Okay, a name. Okay, address. Okay, there are. Okay, we just name, and oh, sorry, address means name means website name, address means I said 1.3. Okay. Now add. So this is the a record in the DNS server. Okay. DNS has different records, but one record will be for website. This is a record for mail record, NX record. There are many different records or entry in DNS. So it is one of these records. Just give this information, web address, then record type, then IP address. Okay, there are many other options like how long it will refresh the record. Okay, and okay, and we have okay. Then go to this. From PC, okay, HTTP is enabled. Let's say. Okay, if we enable HTTP is already enabled. Okay, that means HTTP server is working. So what if we try to reach a website? How we can browse? Well, is there any browser? Yes, there may be any one browser. This is web browser. The www dot. What is the okay? My page. Host name unresolved. Okay, host name unresolved. Another reason because you have to set the DNS and the DNS server. DNS server is 1.3. 1.3. It is the DNS server. Okay. Now it should work. Okay. Okay. Now we reach web server. So, so here you can see that the server is DNS server is on this server, and web server is on this server. So DNS server IP and web server IP is same. Okay. What is it? Consider? Let's say I don't know whether it works. IP config. That's all. Okay. No, it will not work here, right? Okay. No problem. What we can see that if we set DNS, then we can browse. Okay. If we give URL, then we get a packet tracer web page. Okay. It is simple way, but what I am trying to say is that we can also set the router as a DNS DNS server for the special purposes, okay, or DNS client. So that's just the router. This router is DNS server. Okay. So you can use just one command. Okay. So, yeah. No, this is okay. Let's load. Okay. In this way, we can configure all these type of services in the packet tracer. Okay, I am giving you all the labs. Okay, let's share. Okay, I'm sharing the labs that you can practice yourself. But TechX but TechX has some problem. I will check later. Then, oh, another lab we have. I will discuss now. Let's share. Radius. Then we have hierarchy. DNS. Okay, what I am trying to show you, what is the command for DNS? Okay. Copy them. IP. Okay, I am just saying how we can set a router, a DNS server. Okay, it is a bit easier. Okay, we'll just run 3 commands in a router. Okay, 2 commands: IP DNS server and IP domain name lookup. Okay, these 2 will enable DNS. And we, if you want to set a DNS client, IP DNS server, then you will mention the DNS server name. Okay, when it is client, user's client. That means when you set a router, a DNS server client, okay, you will just client means here not client actually, it is actually recursive DNS. When it will use another DNS for redirection of request. Okay, and how how we can when your router is uh, set as DNS server, then how you can and put entry IP host command, then your entry say here mine say www dot mysite.com. Okay, then server side entry. So this is a pretty straightforward. I'm showing here. Okay. Okay. Now the last lab. Moving to last lab. So it is another important lab. It is 802.1x. Security. It is actually port security. So when we configure very secure port configuration, we use Radius server for accessing a network. Okay. In the previous lab, we showed how you can control or manage users of the router switch who are actually administrators, okay, or network engineers who want to work in router and switch. You manage them with a Radius server. But here, a different approach, different purpose actually, but also use Radius server. Say you have some users, just normal users. So they have some computers and they are connected to switches. So you want to control them, control their access with a Radius server. So 802.1x protocol is used to control your user. Or another purpose is used in wireless setting, which will show in your wireless session, Wi-Fi session, where you can control Wi-Fi users. Normally, what we do, we just provide a password, okay, a password for Wi-Fi access in most cases, okay, but it is not secure. If someone knows the key, they can access. Okay, that is the problem. So how you can control the user? So using a Radius server, you can control Wi-Fi users. So using 802.1x. Okay. So which port will be using 1812 and 1813 two ports is used for authentication, authorization, and accounting. So why two ports are used? Authentication is used for authentication 1812 and for accounting. Accounting means there will be some records in the server who are accessing and what they are doing. Okay. So it is called Eap Extensible Authentication Protocol over LAN, and we need to work in the may not work in the okay, let's try. It may not work, but understand the concept. Okay, we just control the access to a switch port. Okay, normally we configure a switch so that users connected to the port are can access the switch. Okay, but we can control with 802.1x where without proper authorization, users will not be able to log in. Okay, that is okay. Let's try in the packet. Okay, we'll take a PC and we have a switch. Why we are talking about? Because users are connected to switch. And then we will control it from a radius server. Okay, in our earlier lab, we controlled users. Here we also control users, but with the control, they will only be allowed to access specific switch port for connectivity. Say this person is connected to routers, switches port, but we will control him from a server, which is radius server. Okay, let's try whether okay, let's check. It is possible to control. Okay, first command will be okay, let's check. Okay, in switch. Okay, at first, just see this command with show command for .1x interface. I'm just checking show dot one. Actually, no, it will not work. Okay, so dot is not available. Okay, dot tab one. No, it will not work. However, you have to work in live network. However, with this command, we can see the status of that port .1x. Okay, and the command is similar: AAA new model radius server host authentication port, and here we can mention also port name, and that key here is CCNA, and here AAA authentication .1x default group radius. Okay, default group radius means it will by default redirect the request to the radius server. Okay, if someone tries to connect to a port, it will only allow if radius server allows. Okay. Switch itself will not allow. But normally, if you configure a switch port with a specific VLAN, it will allow. Okay. But with this type of configuration, and it will not allow. Okay. This is the main thing. So why do we do that? Okay, because we want to control every switch port based on specific user authentication, so that anyone with any computer or device can access network. Okay, it is strict network access control actually. Okay, where security is the main. And what will be the interface commands? Interface command is a .1x system authentication control. Okay, and then for the switch port you want to control interface, and then switch port mode access. Okay, and then you will give the VLAN, for example, which VLAN. Then you .1x port control auto. Okay, this. Okay, when you run the show command for that port, for example, gigabit 00, then you will see different properties. Okay. So try to understand this setup. It is very important. When we discuss the Wi-Fi in next session, we will discuss wireless LAN, which we call Wi-Fi network. Wi-Fi different control of users. We use Wi-Fi also. Okay. 802.1x protocol standard can be used for both wide network and wireless network. Okay. In wide network, we have the different switch ports. So connection to switch port can be controlled with radius server. In wireless network, users access to Wi-Fi can be controlled with radius server also. Okay, because in wireless, there is no physical port, but they are logically connected. Wireless. Okay, that's also we discussed again. Okay, let's share let's village slow DNS no 801. Okay, today's most labs do not support sorry. Okay, I have to close it, otherwise there will be an error. Okay. Oh, sorry. Everyone. Yeah. Okay. Got every file. Okay. Total. How many of them? 4, 5, 6. 6 files has been sent. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions? Anything to discuss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you have anything, okay, or we'll finish today, and tomorrow our topic will not tomorrow. Sorry, is it tomorrow? Not tomorrow. Tomorrow will be gap. It will be day after tomorrow. That
Day after
means
tomorrow, Monday.
Monday. Yeah. On Monday, our topic is Wi-Fi, and we will cover everything of Wi-Fi. So you can also go through some Wi-Fi related topics so that you can discuss in the session. Okay. Let's finish now. Okay. Thank you all. But attendance, what about attendance? Attendance 28. Should I take all the print screen? Yeah. Or you print? Okay, let's take print screen. Okay, again. Maybe okay, 2 print screen is enough. 2 print screen is enough. Okay. Do not disconnect. Now I'm checking print screen. Okay, attendance again. One, page 2. Okay. Okay, let's finish today. Thank you all.